The regular meeting of the Planning Commission is called to order at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We will now take a moment for silent prayer or mediation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, which the Pledge of Allegiance will be done by Acting City Manager Paulina Morales.
If everyone can place their hand over their heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Paulina, can you do roll call?
Yes. Good evening, commissioners. Commissioner Hang did call and say she was not going to be able to attend the meeting tonight, but I will get started. And then Commissioner Lewis did indicate that he will be running late, but he will be attending tonight's meeting. So Commissioner Becerra?
Here.
Vice Chair Williams?
Present.
And Chair Gutierrez?
Here. I believe our Assistant City Attorney has some public comments to make before we move on.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So tonight we're actually asking this commission to walk an item onto the agenda. As you're aware, the commission cannot discuss or take action on an item which is not on the agenda, but there is an exception to that. If this commission, 2/3 of the commission votes that an item arose after the posting of the agenda, which must be acted on immediately, then an item can be added onto the agenda. And we are asking for the commission to take that vote tonight so that we can amend the agenda and consider an item later. The specific item that we're going to be asking you to look at is back in April, this commission considered a code amendment related to beer and wine sales at service stations. And the commission did take action and recommended it for denial to the city council. That item is going to the city council tomorrow night, actually. Next Tuesday. Sorry, my apologies. Next Tuesday. However, we did realize we did not have the final resolution essentially brought back and approved by this commission. And there were a number of changes and recommendations and additions that were made to it. So for that reason, we're asking that we add onto the agenda really this commission to ratify that the resolution conforms to what this commission previously did. So at this point, I just would request that this commission vote. And again, I would need 2/3. So in essence, all three of you to approve adding this item onto the agenda at this time.
Great. Does the commission want some time to redo this? Or is anyone ready to make a motion?
Just to clarify, the motion is to add it to the agenda, then we will discuss it later in the evening during the meeting. So,
Okay.
Okay.
So does anyone have a motion to add it to the meeting?
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we add this resolution number 23-6130 to our agenda this evening to be discussed later on in our agenda.
Do we have a second? I'll go ahead and second to add it to the agenda for discussion later on in the meeting. Paulina, go ahead and do roll call.
Commissioner Becerra?
Aye.
Vice Chair Williams?
Aye.
Chair Gutierrez.
Aye.
In regards to the agenda, I did want to indicate that the last time we brought the study session for the Design Review Subcommittee guidelines, it was the Commission's direction to bring it back and have all of the commissioners discuss and review it. So we'd like to continue it to the next Planning Commission meeting. Or we will be doing that, so. Just wanted to let you know. Thank you.
Now we'll go to approval of minutes from the regular meeting on July 11, 2023. Tonight we have minutes from the regular meeting on July 11, 2023. After reading the minutes, I had emailed the staff and asked that they amend the minutes to make some corrections. There were mistakes on who did the motion. Original motions for chair and original motions for vice chair. Some of those corrections included that the nomination for chair was the original motion was by Commissioner Lewis instead of Commissioner Williams. Does anyone else have any changes to make to this regular meeting from July 11th? If not, the minutes are approved as amended. We'll move on to oral communications. Would anyone like to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? I believe we have one speaker card. Well, and that would be Matthew Smith. Is that correct? Sorry.
Good evening, Commission. I'd like to speak to you tonight about the possibility of outdoor eating as a change of variance or ordinance by the city. And if I can tell you how I got here tonight, it's somewhat of a long story, but I'll try to make it as clear as possible. I own Bun Street, Scoop Street, Tamale Street on Glendora Avenue, and the city was absolutely wonderful during COVID. They set up barricades, trees, and we had outdoor eating, kept us going. It was absolutely fantastic and crucial for the takeout, as well as when we started dining out and not in. Totally supportive, totally appreciative of what was done. When the health department closed out outdoor eating, we were supposed to dismantle the site that we have. We bought benches, umbrellas, and let all the restaurants on that row utilize what we had. And I do realize we are out of compliance. I'm not going to stand and say, like, oh, like they're against me. No, they're not against me, but I would like to continue to have outdoor eating. It supplies about 60 extra seats for the restaurants on that row. I have no problem letting everybody else use those as well. Bought new umbrellas about a month ago. Everybody could use them. And know it's out of code, but it's also something that I think we could work together on and develop a plan to change the ordinance. And that's where the Planning Commission, I think, comes in. I spoke to code enforcement, fire, police, city, asking for a waiver, just to waive the ordinance at this point while the city develops outdoor eating ordinance, just changes things from what it is currently. I was told and was given instructions for a filing of administrative review plan. Okay, I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's a $440 deposit. It's $96.30 per hour of review. 2 plants have to be incorporated. Resolution filing is $140 from there. There's a site plan, parcel specifications, and the map legend needs to include net acreage of parcel, gross floor area of all buildings, proposed off-street parking, required off-street parking, and number of permanent seats, beds, classrooms, etc., depending on what you're building. So it seemed a little excessive for 6 parking spots that currently have barricades. So to me and my business partner, it just wasn't an option. Financially, and the work that was going to be needed behind it, it wasn't an option to contest and ask for a waiver ourselves personally. I wrote a letter on May 2nd to West Covina City Hall administration asking for a waiver in regards to outdoor eating. And I was referred back to the document that I just read in regards to the review. I do understand that no one has the power to do it, to change the ordinance and to waive it without city council approval. Okay, so this is what happened to LA City County Council on August 1st. The Planning Commission, and why am I standing in front of you today? Because LA County's done this. They are recommending to their city council outdoor eating. They have 154 permits they're recommending to allow outdoor eating to continue. We understand, the restaurant owners understand that the health department has closed this down and is saying, no more, it's not a health crisis anymore. But LA County is recognizing places that still have outdoor eating and are doing something about it through their planning commission, recommending to the city council, who I understand is the only one that could waive the ordinance. I also believe that nobody's against outdoor eating. I don't think anybody is anti-outdoor eating. I really don't. And everybody's been very supportive. That being said, I am willing to work with anyone involved in regards to creating a waiver until ordinances are changed, which I believe everybody wants. I've talked to police, fire. No one seems to have a real issue on 6 parking spots. And there's other businesses, I'm sure, that are looking for outdoor eating as well. So tonight, I'm here basically asking the Planning Commission, I'd love to work with you in regards to something that presents City Council that would allow outdoor eating currently while the ordinance is looked at and reviewed. And I'm assuming change because no one's I've come across is against it. It's a huge factor for a restaurant. It's 60 additional seats. We're in spring and summer right now. 60 seats is a lot of seats for multiple businesses that share that right now. And I know there's other businesses too. I can't speak for it, but I'm sure we're interested in this. You probably don't have any questions, or I don't know if you ask questions or not. I'm more than willing to discuss this with you.
It's public comments. It's not back and forth. Sorry.
Okay. And lastly, me and my business partner are starting a food service business down in Downey starting on Monday. And we love this isn't a threat. We're not leaving West Covina. But there's challenges. There's challenges in West Covina. And we did take resources, and we did open up something down instead of a 4th place here in West Covina. And, I had multiple violations out. One of them was a portable toilet that was outside of Scoop Street. That's not there. There's no portable toilet outside of my ice cream box. $100 fee. And I'll work with it on it, but these are challenges.
Isn't that Covina? Isn't that Covina?
No, Scoop Street, right here by Bunn Street and Tamale Street on Glendora. 206, they're 186, I believe. So there's challenges. I like the city. I'm a school board city. My business partner lives in the city and own property. It's just it's a little bit of a challenge, and we'd like to work on the outdoor eating prospect, I think. So you can have the article. I'll leave it over here. And thank you for your time tonight. I probably went over 3 minutes, but I appreciate the extra time.
Thank you. And let's see. Great, and I don't see any more speaker cards for items not on the agenda. And just to make a comment, and maybe Paulina could comment on this too, regarding what the constituents said. I believe not too far back, I know Councilman Tony Wu and Mayor Diaz and Councilwoman Letty Lopez Villaro have been proud supporters of our local restaurants in our community. And I believe at one of the last council meetings, they directed city staff to develop a policy to allow for that to continue. And I know Councilman Tony Wu was a proud advocate of that. So do we know if that's going to be brought up soon back to the city council anytime soon, Paulina?
So I just want to clarify, outdoor dining is allowed in the city right now. You can apply for a permit, whether it's administrative use permit or another permit to allow outdoor dining. So that is allowed today. We are looking at facilitating the process and making it easier to provide those outdoor dining spaces. We are doing it through the Development Code update. So that will be, I think, before you guys in the next few months. And then we can take a look at, at what's being proposed through the Development Code update.
So will that resolve the issues that this gentleman is having?
As he said, during the pandemic, the city was able to waive certain municipal codes, including building and fire codes that are state level, not necessarily municipal level, because of the pandemic and because of the effort to assist small business or assist businesses and to address the health concerns with eating indoors. Unfortunately, when the pandemic was over, those waivers that we had, we could no longer continue. As I mentioned, it's building and fire code that are state codes and not city level. And so we have to ensure the safety of our community members, and part of that is following the code. So unfortunately, we can't waive the code. We have to go with the code that we currently have in place right now if someone wants to do that outdoor dining. The issue is they're, I think, using 6 parking stalls. And so on a temporary basis, they could apply for a temporary use permit, but that won't allow them to use that space on a long-term basis, which is, I think, what you guys want, a more permanent basis for outdoor dining. And so if they wish to apply now, it's administrative use permit. If they wish to wait until the Development Code update is adopted, they have that option. The Development Code update isn't going to get rid of the process for outdoor dining. It's going to facilitate it. There'll still be a process to get approval for that. So just wanted to clarify that. Hope that answers your question.
Great, thank you. And I would encourage the constituent to follow up with the acting city manager's office and work with her to be updated on the process as it comes along. And now we will move on to public hearings. Tonight we have one public hearing. Paulina, who will be presenting the staff report?
Joanne Burns, our planning manager, will be providing the report.
Good evening, Honorable Chair, members of the Planning Commission. Let me go ahead and put the slide up. So the item before you is for a precise plan and conditional use permit. The precise plan and conditional use permit is to expand a hotel ballroom, remodel of a porte cochere, and expand the alcohol service into the expanded ballroom. The project site is located on the north side of the I-10 freeway along East Garvey Avenue. It is surrounded by the Walnut Wash to the north, the LA County storm drain to the east, and another hotel to the west. The project site is zoned regional commercial, and it is a 128,250 square foot site. The site is developed with a 5-story hotel that was built in the 1960s. The building footprint on the projector is a site plan. The building footprint is the existing building footprint is highlighted in blue. The expansion will be towards the mid courtyard of the existing hotel on the first floor. That ballroom expansion is highlighted in red in the site plan. And the porte-cochere, the existing porte-cochere that would be remodeled is highlighted in green in the site plan. The site currently has 220 parking spaces on site, and based on the number of parking spaces calculated as far as one parking space per hotel room, there are 135 hotel rooms within the building, and one parking space for every 3.5 seats for the restaurant itself. The existing restaurant would require 14.5 parking spaces, and the ballroom with the expansion would require 70 if the condition of approval that is included in the draft resolution is adopted, which requires that the maximum capacity of the ballroom would be 175 seats. On the projector is the floor plan. The area that's highlighted in red currently is the existing banquet room. And to the left is a photograph of the interior courtyard. So the ballroom the banquet room will be expanded to the interior of the courtyard by 1,657 square feet. And it shows that this is the current wall for the banquet room, and it would be expanded out this way as it matches into the floor plan. As mentioned earlier, per the condition of approval, we would be limiting the number of seats for the ballroom to 175 seats. Per the application, according to the applicant, the ballroom would accommodate 63 seats. However, I looked up similar DoubleTree hotels in the size and compared it to the size of their ballrooms. They were able to accommodate more than 63 seats because typically they use at times they use a round table with 10 seats each, and they have less space in between. And also at times they have classes, conference or convention classes inside the ballroom at certain times where the ballroom is arranged in a classroom setting, which would allow for more seats to fill the room. Oops. And this on the projector is the existing Holiday Inn. As mentioned earlier, they are going to be remodeling the porte-cochere. There is an existing porte-cochere on the site, and they're doing this because they are working on rebranding the hotel. This is the proposed elevation for the porte-cochere. And this on the projector is the proposed elevations for the proposed ballroom expansion. On the west elevation, this is towards the interior courtyard area, and this is along the north facing the swimming pool. This is along the side facing the parking lot. The ballroom expansion will be minimally visible, mainly because they are also raising the ceiling or the roof area. So a portion of it will be visible from the parking lot. With this, the staff is recommending approval of the project, the precise plan and conditional use permit, in adoption of the approval resolution with minor changes. I would like to mention that, that there is a change in the resolution number. It is going from 236126 to 236127. And the other resolution is 236128. Also, the date on the CUP resolution would be changed to today's date with the CUP number corrected. If the Planning Commission has any questions, I'm available to answer.
Did the applicant indicate the timeline or how long it was going to take them to do the improvements?
The applicant is here and would be able to provide you with that information.
Okay.
Thank you for the staff report. Does any member of the Planning Commission have any questions for staff? Any additional questions? Okay, great. And then I will now open the floors for a public hearing. And should we let I guess the applicant's going to speak regardless. But so is he a public speaker or should the applicant?
You should call up the applicant first.
Okay, great. So I'll go ahead and call the applicant, Jeremy Yee.
Good evening, the planning commissioners. Basically, this is Holiday Inn, and now they want to upgrade it to DoubleTrees. As you know, if really familiar with the hotel motel business, you should understand Holiday Inn is a motel level, but the DoubleTrees is a hotel level. It's like 4-star Hilton system. So that's why the main reason we need to do this, because the ballroom, the banquet room for the Holiday Inn is okay with the lower ceiling heights. But for the DoubleTrees, that's not acceptable. That's why we need to comply DoubleTrees requirements to upgrade the hotel level. So up to eventually according to the grade of the Holiday Inn compared with the Holiday Inn compared with the DoubleTrees, it's like a 2 levels difference, jump like 2 levels up, which is it's like a tremendous improvements. So we need to follow their requirements, and the current canopies, as you can see right now, it looks simple design. It's more modernized, but it's not acceptable by the DoubleTrees. They want the conventional, something like the solid walls, and then so we still remain that the bottom, stone veneer, but on the top we have to revise it and then grant approval by the DoubleTrees. So later on, the whole hotel is going to be recolored to the same color So the owner eventually need to throw in a lot of money to do this. Because not only this, later on, we're going to apply for interior remodeling as well. They need to comply with the DoubleTree standard. So I really hope we can get this approval and then move as fast as we can, because, we try to get more times from DoubleTrees in order to comply their requirements. But somehow for the investment to the owner, they gave me a deadline. It's about like 18 months. I need to have this design and then the build. So which is very, a lot of pressure. So I hope we can have this move as fast as we can. And then we need your helps. Thank you.
Does any of the members of the Planning Commission have any questions for the applicant? No one? Okay. Okay, now we'll hear testimony from anyone in favor. I don't see any cards. Anyone in the public in favor of this? Like to speak? Anyone against it? It's a full house, but no one wants to speak. And then, and there's no rebuttal because no one. And now I'll close public hearing at 7:31 p.m. Pacific time and open discussion by the commission. I will now open commission discussion. Commissioner Lewis.
So happy to see that this motel is going to be turning into a motel or a hotel here soon enough. Glad to hear about the rebranding and hopefully revitalization here. Seems like an ideal step in the right direction, and hopefully you guys can move forward as quickly as possible. And I'm certainly in favor of this.
Great, Commissioner Williams.
Looking at
Vice Chair Williams.
Looking at the plans that they have proposed for the porte-cochere, as well as for the expansion and the exterior of the hotel, it is a nice improvement and long coming.
Commissioner Becerra.
I'm in agreement with Commissioner Lewis and Commissioner Williams. This would be a welcome change.
And I'll say, yeah, great. That's great that you're building a greater and prosperous hotel in West Covina. I think it's going to take it to a next level. Right now there's no cookies at Holiday Inn. Now, DoubleTree, you get cookies. So that's great that you're the Great Wall and your investment partners are investing in the city of West Covina and building this great hotel, the DoubleTree Hotel. I think it's going to encourage other stakeholders to also invest in our city and build bigger and better hotels as well. And it's great to see that and what you're doing. So great job. I'll now, and so therefore I'll close commission comments and open up, see if there's a motion.
I'll motion to adopt resolution numbers 23-6127 and 23-6128, along with conditional use permit number 23-03, as modified to reflect the updated resolution numbers that I just read off, and date.
And I'll go ahead and second it. Paulina, roll call.
Pull up my agenda. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. And I would like to note that Commissioner Lewis has joined us. So thank you. So Commissioner Becerra?
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis?
Aye.
Vice Chair Williams?
Aye.
Chair Gutierrez?
Aye.
Motion passes.
And if you could just verify the resolution that was approved. Sorry, I forgot that sentence.
I'm sorry. John, can you?
Just for the minutes.
The precise plan to approve is resolution number 23-6127, and the conditional use permit to approve is 23-6128.
Great, thank you. That was just for clarification for the minutes. And now this action is final unless appealed to the City Council within 10 days. We'll now move on to non-hearing items. Initiation of Code Amendment number 2303. Is that the correct code number? A general exception requester D. Mias and Chani Chor regarding the location of downtown plan, Glendora Avenue. A request to initiate a code amendment that consists of reducing and/or eliminating off-street parking requirements for certain commercial properties in the downtown plan and code area. We'll hear the staff report.
Yes, thank you. Mary Machado from our planning department will be providing the presentation.
Good evening, Commissioners. This evening, we're discussing the initiation of a code amendment. The code amendment would take place in the downtown plan. Specifically, we are looking at South Glendora Avenue. The red box shown here on the aerial view highlights the commercial properties that would be affected if this code amendment was to be initiated. The current commercial properties don't have suffice, if any, parking spaces on site. In place, they are currently serviced by the city-owned parking strip along South Glendora between East Walnut Creek Parkway and East Dalewood Street. The yellow star, kind of tiny, but it shows the current vacant lot where no development can currently take place due to the current parking restrictions that are there. The planning staff does see the request to be reasonable given that there are no spaces for on-site parking. So we do recommend that the Planning Commission consider initiating the code amendment and make a recommendation to City Council by approving the resolution. Thank you. The code amendment would be to change the parking requirements within the downtown plan, specifically just on Glendora Avenue.
So if you look at the lots, if I may, Commissioners, the lots go up to, I think, the frontage of the lot has 6 inches, I believe, of sidewalk, and then beyond that, it's city-owned. The only real parking that is available is on the back of the buildings, which not very customer friendly, and it doesn't provide. Not all of the properties provide sufficient parking, and so at this time, the city has been, with the existing buildings, waiving that parking requirement because there is no way that they can provide sufficient parking for those uses, and then, as indicated in the staff report, with the vacant lot. Because it's not an existing building, we would also we wouldn't be able to allow a new use there because it's no longer grandfathered in. And so this would help clean up the code to allow for what we're currently doing in that area. And then it would also allow for development to go on that vacant lot that, if I put on my economic development hat, we definitely would love to see something go there. And so it would help that property get developed in the future, and it has been interest in developing it, and so they would. That's why the request came before you this evening, and so that's why staff is recommending that we move forward with this code amendment. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Does this require public discussion or just commission discussion?
Just a commission discussion.
Okay, great. Does any of the commissioners have any comments regarding subject?
Yes, I had a question.
Okay, go ahead, Vice Chair.
Yes, I had a question.
Excuse me, Chair.
for the Attorney.
Right.
I noticed in the report that the requesters for this code amendment are asking several things. One, that they not be required to file an application and that they not have to pay fees for a code amendment. My question is, could this be considered a gift of public funds?
No, this commission can initiate code amendments, and so the request is that you initiate it. There are other times when the public initiates it and when we require the application and the fee, but no, it's not a gift of public funds if this commission wants to initiate that process. But I do want to say real quick, all items on a regular agenda, you do have to solicit public comment. So, yeah.
Paulina, that's great. Okay, and does any of the members of the public would like to make any comments regarding this item on the agenda here tonight? I don't see. Oh, we do have one. Okay, go ahead, and we'll give you a pink card to fill out.
I'm the applicant.
He's the one that submitted the request.
So,
Okay, perfect.
myself, my name is Demias, and my fiance Chani Chor there. We own one of the units there on South Glendora, which is going to be Bird Chicken Rice that we're opening hopefully by the end of this month. And we noticed that there's an empty lot that's available for sale. We're actually in the real estate business. We want to actually acquire that lot and build kind of like a micro, like a food hall in that area. So we see a potential that if we can get more parking, we can have our investors help us fund that project. So last month we spoke to Joanne, and she said because of the code enforcement for parking, we're not really allowed to do anything for, if we don't have any parking. So that tells me that if we decide to buy that lot is useless to us. So without the amending the code for parking, we can't really go for any further in acquiring that property. So if it's not us, it would be somebody else. They would ask the same thing. So I think it would benefit the city of West Covina to develop that lot. Previously, if I looked at Google, I saw that lot used to be, I think, 3 units because there's 3 water mains. So I think it was demolished. Whoever that owned it previously, they demolished it looking to develop something. So I think they ran into a roadblock of that no parking issue. So that's why it's so vacant, still vacant right now. With our research, because we're in the real estate market, I think that's one of your major concern in that West Covina area. If we want to redevelop that area, we need that space to be developed and to bring in more, customers to come in, especially a business owner, especially a property owner in West Covina. We don't just live here in West Covina. We own the business in West Covina, and we want to invest in West Covina. So we're asking, the city of West Covina to help us to bring in more, customers to support the businesses. That's pretty much about it. So.
Great, thank you so much. Does any of the commission have any questions for the applicant? Nope. Okay, great. So we'll close public comment and see if any of the commissioners have any questions for city staff. Does any of the commissioners have any questions?
I just have a question. That lot has been vacant for quite a long time. Have we ever had anyone make any inquiries about this parking issue previously?
So when I started with the city, they had just closed, I think, the Great Wall Restaurant, and a new property owner had acquired it, and they wanted to turn it into a Mexican restaurant. And then we worked with them for several years in building that to the Mexican restaurant. And Then it burnt down, and ever since then it's been vacant, and there has not been a lot of interest. Those lots, as I mentioned, are narrow and they're not easy to develop. And then with the parking restriction, it is limiting. So we are very excited that there's interest, and as the applicant mentioned, whether it's them or a future user of the space, it's something that the city's going to have to address. So hope that answered your question.
And I just had one other sort of follow-up is, obviously, I think there's certainly a strong desire to see that area developed as much as possible, given that it is our downtown of sorts. But one thing that has always kind of troubled me about that area is the fact that there is just that strip of parking, and unless you're utilizing the big parking structure that's kind of diagonally across the way there, if we did eventually have that area fully developed in some way, my concern would be, given the neighborhood proximity to it, how would that impact parking if we, if we're not being considerate of the fact that there is a neighborhood literally right behind that kind of thing.
Well, the intent has always been to establish this area in West Covina as our downtown. And in downtown areas, you always want to slow down traffic and have parking problems, right? You want there to be people going to your downtown and that foot traffic. So not only does the city own 2 parking structures next to the lake's office buildings, but we also have an agreement with the with Edwards for the parking structure that's along Glendora Avenue. So there is parking available. So we're obviously hoping that it doesn't go into the neighborhood. I don't know. I know a lot of those are apartment complexes. You're talking about the ones in the back.
Right.
So
there's also some single family residences
on the other side. Yeah.
Yeah.
So right now I have not heard of any issues with parking going into the residential area. I think that a lot of the parking structures are underutilized as today. So I think that they'll be able to address those needs and address those parking needs.
It's just more of an aspirational problem that I hope we have to deal with at some point.
Yes.
But I would certainly want to see that, we hopefully consider that in terms of whatever we do. That's all.
Great. Vice Chair Williams.
Okay. Paulina, in regards to the 2 parking structures that the city owns and the theater, that's roughly about 700 parking spaces?
I'll go with I don't know off the top of my head, but I know the one along Glendora is 3 or 4 or 5 stories. The other ones are at least 3. So, and then there's a parking lot as well right behind where Barnes and Noble used to be. I don't know if I'm aging myself, but I think I forgot the name of the new store there, but where Michael's is. So, Jerome's, thank you. So there is plenty of parking there.
So would you create a parking district which would allow those properties that are on South Glendora to be able to enter into some type of an agreement to use the parking structures?
We currently have agreements with between the city now and Edwards for use of that parking structure and use of our parking structure. We don't have any type of agreement with those property owners along Glendora Avenue for use of the city property because it's public parking. So currently there isn't any. If we wanted to pursue like a parking district, that's something that, we can take a look at.
Yeah, because I thought it could either work like in Covina, they have Shoppers Lane, where they do have the public parking, but the businesses along there are part of that parking district. And I don't know if it's the case in Azusa, where they have the theater, the Azusa 10, where they have the residential on the backside, but then they have the shopping center and so forth. If there's some type of a instrument, such as a parking district or something, where each of the property or interests could be legally connected to some way of meeting parking. Because I understand what Commissioner Nick is saying is that because COVID took a toll on some activities, as things are opening up, we would hope that we would have a crowd and people would need to park. But at the same time, right, we don't want them to be encouraged to look for parking along the streets or in the residential areas or behind the buildings.
Yeah, I think we used to have a parking district there. I'm not sure, but it's been a long time. But we can definitely take a look at that.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea because there's a lot of break-ins in that parking garage, and I think by having a parking district in that area will allow for modernization of hopefully LED lights being put into that parking structure, making it more brighter at night, and hopefully create some sort of funding that allows our police departments to put cameras in the structure that gives them a live feed to help stop criminals from engaging and breaking into vehicles in that structure as well.
Commissioners, it's definitely worth exploring, but there is a hurdle when adopting those kind of assessment districts. They're typically implemented when a large developer comes in and then they subsequently subdivide and then sell off the parcels. It's much harder to implement that kind of district after the fact because the property owners themselves have essentially a veto. They get to vote on it. And if enough of them don't approve of it or don't want to participate, it ends up being shot down. Not to say it can't be done. It can. It's just much more difficult after the fact.
Is it a case then that the city has already set aside funds where they'll be able to continue to maintain the parking structures as well as the street parking without any assistance from the businesses?
We've been maintaining the city street and parking lot already. It's not something that it's public parking, public street. So we've never received money from any of the business owners in regards to maintaining that. In regards to the parking structures that the city owns, like I said, they're under agreement with the Lakes office building and with Edwards, and there's a maintenance agreement amongst those entities. So there's already a mechanism for the fees regarding to managing those parking structures, and that's separate from anything to do with the businesses on Glendora Avenue.
Who's paying the electricity bill in that parking structure?
I believe it's the three entities pay a portion of it.
And is there
their shared cost? The costs are shared. Okay.
Is there a way to talk to those stakeholders to see if they're willing to invest in better lighting in those structures? Because I know the number one concern from people who are parking in there at night, that it's too dark. Those orange lights are now outdated and do not provide the sufficient lighting for people to feel safe in there.
We could definitely talk to the property owner of the parking lot that is not owned by the city and seeing what upgrades they're willing to do.
That sounds great. Thank you. Commissioner Becerra, do you have any comments?
No, thank you.
Okay. We will now call for, see if there's a motion to initiate a code amendment number 23-03. Is there a motion? Any motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion. Okay. I'll make a motion that the Planning Commission adopt resolution number 23 I believe this would be 6129. Is that correct? Initiating a code amendment to the West Covina downtown plan pertaining to vacant lots on that Glendora Avenue corridor.
Great.
Non-grandfathered in lots, I should say.
And I'll go ahead and second it, with keeping in mind that if our acting city manager Paulina Morales could follow up with that, the property owner and the parking structure, to see, hopefully he's willing to invest in better lighting in the parking structure.
Can I also clarify with Commissioner Lewis? So the resolution is for non-residential uses. It's not specific to vacant lots. So are you making that change?
So, what I want to make sure that we're doing here is we're limiting it to that Glendora Avenue protocol, or that Glendora Avenue area where this is currently an obvious problem. If it's a problem elsewhere, I'd like to know exactly where it is a problem and why it is a problem. And if we need to make a separate code amendment for that, I'm interested in exploring that, but I want to know the whys behind everything, because perhaps this is just an anomaly and this is a one-time thing. We don't need to worry about that. But if it's something that's more complex and frankly invites more controversy to it, I certainly want to know about it.
So the properties that would be affected by this code amendment are the ones in red above. It's not within the downtown.
That was my understanding. It's just along Glendora Avenue. So I wanted to just make that clear.
Okay, but not all the properties are vacant. Right.
Well, I said vacant properties or properties that are not grandfathered in with the parking restrictions, because I believe that's the actual issue, is that if there is a change to a current use to a new use, they would not be subject to the grandfathering clause, is my understanding.
Okay.
Is that
Thank you for clarifying.
accurate? I just want to make sure that I'm stating this correctly, because that's my
really like a one-time exception then, no?
So I want to make sure that I'm understanding that this is specifically for changes in use along the Glendora Avenue corridor, the downtown Glendora Avenue corridor, and we're not talking about something else that I'm not understanding.
Maybe if I can.
Sure.
So I don't think we're making it specifically. We want to get rid of the grandfathered ones, right? We want to make it fair and consistent among all of those businesses, and then also just make it simpler moving forward, that we don't have to grandfather any new business going in. They're not going to be required to provide parking.
Right.
Those properties.
Right, and I think that's what I'm saying, but maybe I'm not making it clear. I'm fine with initiating a code amendment as it is stated here. That is fine.
Sorry, thank you.
Maybe what he's trying to say is recognizing that those older shop buildings, some of them are non-conforming, and I'm sure there's a non-conforming section in the code that you're basically saying you're trying to address that situation for the future.
Correct.
Right.
Anything that's non-conforming, if this amendment brings them into compliance, then they'll be conforming from that point forward. But if they still have a non-conforming, they will continue to be grandfathered under the city's code until such time as they come into conformance. This is lowering the parking standard, making it easier for them to come into conformance.
Right.
So
that's my understanding as well. So I think we're on the same page, and perhaps I'm just not making it clear.
No.
It's been a long day.
Thank you. I think I just wanted to clarify your statement for grandfathered, so thank you.
So you said it says downtown plan in parentheses Glendora Avenue. So we're referring to Glendora Avenue only, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
And specifically those properties.
Okay, perfect.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Lewis and a second by Chair Gutierrez.
Yes.
Commissioner Becerra?
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis?
Aye.
Vice Chair Williams?
Aye.
Chair Gutierrez?
And just to clarify, with the exception that you look into speaking to the ownership of the parking structure. But yes, it's an aye.
The next item was going to be the study session that we're going to continue to the next Planning Commission meeting. And we would then have our City Attorney Barron provide a presentation on the resolution that we added to the agenda this evening.
Thank you, Paulina. So as mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, item 4 on your agenda is being continued. But at the beginning of the meeting, you were asked and did vote to walk an item onto the agenda with the exigency finding. So back in April of this year, you were presented with an item related to beer and wine sales at service stations. And this commission did make a recommendation to the council to deny. So that vote was done, and that is not what's being asked tonight. What didn't happen is a resolution wasn't brought back to you, and we need that resolution to present to the council, essentially confirming exactly what you said. So what's being asked of you tonight is really just to confirm that the resolution matches the vote. So I know there was some split vote on this item, so we're not asking you tonight, again, to either make a recommendation or not. All we're asking you is, does this resolution match up with what this commission voted? Does that make sense? So even if you voted no on the recommendation, you can vote, yes, this is what this commission as a body did. So that's what we're asking you tonight. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. The resolution is before you. If you could just review it, and then I would ask for a motion to essentially ratify this resolution. It reflects these commission's prior vote.
Great. Do we have any I will now open the floor for public comment. Is there any public comment regarding this item? See any? I'm now closing public comment at 8:02 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Does any of the commissioners have any comments or questions for city staff? No. No. Anyone? No. Okay. I will now open the floor for a motion, if there's a motion.
I just had one quick comment. I just want to put on the record that I understand that this resolution appears to be an accurate reflection of what went on. However, I strongly disagree with it, and I want to put that on the record.
Are you talking about the resolution or the
last minute process?
or the permit?
I'll reiterate this so I'm clear. The resolution that is before us is resolution number 23-613, which appears to reference an Exhibit A resolution, which was 23-6126, which was a denial of Code Amendment number 23-02. As I indicated, the denial of resolution number 23-6126 is not something I agree with. However, I agree that this is an accurate reflection of what occurred at the meeting.
Thank you. And the chair, that is what we're asking this commission to vote on, is whether this is an accurate of what the body did. So it would be appropriate at this point to have a motion.
Anyone have a motion?
I would like to make a motion that the Planning Commission ratify resolution number 23-6130 as outlined in the paperwork that we were given this evening.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Williams and a second by Becerra to adopt resolution number 23-6130. Commissioner Becerra?
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis?
Aye.
Vice Chair Williams?
Aye.
Chair Gutierrez?
I think my vote's stated on here before in regards to I don't support this. I believe the voters should decide if this is a matter that they want to initiate. But at the same time, I do believe this is a rush, last-minute process. And so therefore, I will abstain from voting on this matter because it was last-minute rush. Paulina, I guess, oh yeah, so go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah.
3 yeas with an abstention, so motion passes. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to commission reports, comments, and miscellaneous items. Would any of the commissioners like to report or comment on an item? See any community development director's report? Paulina, do you have any items to report?
Yes, good evening again. So I just wanted to give you guys a couple updates on some upcoming events. Saturday, August 12th, we have the summer cleanup, the bulky item summer pickups with Athens. So each Saturday, depending on your day of trash pickup, they come and take out any bulky items. So we brought that back, and I think we're on our third Saturday this week. So it's Wednesday. If your pickup day is Wednesday, it's a Saturday. Oh, and now the computer's shutting down. We also have a couple events. Hold on. Here we go. Free electronic waste collection roundup, August 12th, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the city maintenance yard. So if you have any electronic waste you need to get rid of, please take it to the city yard this Saturday. We also canceled last week's city council meeting. We had National Night Out. It was a really great evening. We got to go to various different neighborhood watch community events throughout the entire city. We had more groups join this year, so we did not get to spend a lot of time everywhere, but we did try to visit each location. So if any neighborhood groups want to establish one for next year, it's a great time to start doing that, working on that. It's a great event. We have our council, our commissioners. I know Commissioner Williams joined us at a few events as well. Our police and fire attend these events, and it's an opportunity to get to know your neighbors and get to know your public safety officers. We are hosting our first Mayor's Prayer Breakfast, August 31st at 7:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. or 9:30 a.m. A morning event at the Taylor House at Heritage Park. It's a $25 donation for tickets, and all the information is on the city website. The other thing is a save the date. The city is going to be hosting the State of the City on Thursday, September 28th at the Sportsplex. It's going to be at 5:30, and we're going to start doing ticket sales within the next week. We are also hosting the first Moon Festival Saturday, September 30th from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. And we're going to have vendors, booths, food booths, live music by Bruno and the Hooligans will also be featured live music at the event. So that's it for directors' updates.
Great. And is there any city council actions to report?
As we mentioned earlier, we are taking the beer and wine sales code amendment to the city council at the August 15th city council meeting. So that's it for me this evening. Thank you.
Sounds great. And I'd like to just say that commend all our community residents who participated in our National Night Out. It was I saw all the community residents come out. I saw on social media everyone who came out, and the united base from our fire chief Campau, Chief Bao, and Captain Cortina, and all our men and women in law enforcement and our fire departments who do and work hard in public service. That you shall be commended for the work you do, and our residents support you, and we thank you for serving and making our community prosper every day. And with that being said, since there's no further business to consider, this meeting is adjourned at 8:10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.